that a good thing?
Only if you counted them.
Right,
I want to see your figures. Did you write it down?
I want
Let me
to
see
see.
Let me see your figures. I'm sorry.
You ain't gave one figure, but you want him to pull out some figures from his pocket right now. Let me see your figures. That's ridiculous, man. This is a cult of personality at this point. So there's a particular type of derangement that comes when you ask people their political beliefs. This is a very prime example of a lot of the people that, you know, pop up in my comments. You know, some people you have conversations with in your family, things get heated. Some people just take it too far.
You guys are in the perfect attire. we got the Kamala Harris merch right here.
Absolutely.
We voting for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
Are you kidding? Kamala Harris.
Definitely Kamala Harris.
In the house, yes.
Why is that? Why are we voting for Kamala Harris?
Well, number one,
well, he's cool. He's got all the updated slang.
she talks about what we've lived. I'm an educator some 40 years. And what we've lived is lifting people up, not tearing them down. And he seems to specialize in that, tearing people down. And I am the absolute opposite. and he epitomizes everything that I've stood against and everything that I've trained and worked with.
Tell me if this guy doesn't seem a little off. He seems a little unhinged. Like, he seems like he's probably a nice guy. He's a teacher, you know, he works in the school. You have to take some type of evaluation, I'm assuming, but something off about it, the look in his eyes.
My students to do, and that is to lift up one another and to achieve greatness and great heights and be told that they can always do well and do the best and be the best.
And you guys, she's obviously been...
He hasn't given one solid political reason or policy that would have led him to this discussion. It's just all flowery language. And that's kind of the problem with this time right now. Flowery language is acceptable as opposed to facts and logic, you know?
And heavily involved in the Biden administration. What was your favorite accomplishment of hers as Vice President of the United States?
As Vice President of the United States, she was bold enough to go to the border and tell people to stay home. People forget that.
The job she was supposed to do as border czar. Yeah, and she barely did that. Go home. Go. Oh, you remember that?
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come.
And in fact, more so, there are a lot of people who are misinformed, and there's a lot of misinformation going around. And so let's set the record straight, if I may. And that is, Trump didn't give you a dime, people. That was the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration that gave you $2,300 and $1,500.
You said no. The lie detector determined that was a lie.
That was a lie. Klug check. Pandemic stimulus payments were issued mid-April 2020 and December 2020 under President Trump. So he just told a bold-faced lie right there. He just literally told a bold-faced lie right there. And this is who was supposed to be the reasonable side.
No one else. Stop playing. This is not a game.
Hey,
And they also think that the fact that the stimulus checks came out, must be a reason that people are anti-Kamala. That's the weird thing about this, is that they've lowered everybody to a lowest common denominator, and everybody else is stupid, but they are the smartest people in the room.
That was the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration that gave you $2,300 and $1,500. No one else. Stop playing. This is not a game.
Hey, I got a question for you. When it comes to the border, Kamala Harris overlooking the border, telling them not to come, that is seemingly more of a sore subject when it comes to this administration. Worst border crisis in American history. And when she visited the border, she didn't visit the spot where the border crisis was happening. What are your thoughts about that? Is that something to tout for this for Kamala Harris when this is the worst border crisis in American history that we've seen under this administration? What do you think?
Oh, and more misinformation. And from you. That's funny.
Wait,
let's make it clear.
Yeah.
All right.
What?
Just so you understand.
I don't think that was misinformation.
The Biden administration inherited that border crisis. You remember the one that Trump said that he was going to build a big wall.
That's the saddest thing about this. And this is how a lot of y'all look out here. I'm just going to say it. As embarrassing as it might be, I'm just hold the mirror back up at you.
She's obviously been heavily involved in the Biden administration. What was your favorite accomplishment of hers as Vice President of the United States?
As Vice President of the United States, she was bold enough to go to the border and tell people to stay home. People.
He's like, I got you with that one. You didn't think I was gonna come up with that. You mean she was doing her job? Oh, so she was the border czar. Okay, because I was told that was misinformation, that she wasn't the border czar, but I distinctly remember her having a job at the border. So, and then when she went down there, it was after a long time of not going down there, and she turned around and said, "Don't come." Don't come here. And they didn't listen. Nobody listened.
People forget that. and in fact, more so, there are a lot of people who are misinformed, and there's a lot of misinformation going around. And so let's set the record straight, if I may. And that is, Trump didn't give you a dime, people. That was the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration that gave you $2,300 and $1,500. No one else.
So he literally said a lie right there. He literally just told a fat, bold-faced lie. It says here, pandemic stimulus payments were issued mid-April 2020 and December 2020 under President Trump. So who's giving out misinformation? That's what I want to know. They act all high and mighty like they got right on their side or there's some kind of logic. This is ridiculous. But continue on.
Stop playing. This is not a game.
Hey, I got a question for you. When it comes to the border, Kamala Harris overlooking the border, telling them not to come, that is seemingly more of a sore subject when it comes to this administration. Worst border crisis in American history. And when she visited the border, she didn't visit the spot where the border crisis was happening. What are your thoughts about that? Is that something to tout for this for Kamala Harris when this is the worst border crisis in American history that we've seen under this administration? What do you think?
And more misinformation. And from you. That's funny. Let's make it clear.
Yeah.
All right.
Clarify.
Just so you understand.
I don't think that was misinformation.
The Biden administration inherited that border crisis. You remember the one that Trump said that he was going to build a big wall? I think he made it about 5 feet. Not just that. It was so garbage that I think I could have made it through that wall. All I had to do was just open the door. But not just that. It was also done in a situation where they were advocating, not just advocating, but they also had a bill that they were going to strengthen.
Get it out, brother. Get it out. You can't even think of the terms. This is an educator. This is somebody who was supposed to be schooling you on what you know. And more often than not, it's like this.
The border. And in fact, that bill, they were going to strengthen the border. And in fact, that bill didn't even come from them. It came from Congress, and they were with the bill, prepared to sign. They negotiated and everything else. And guess what? Donald Trump called up all his buddies and said, don't vote for it because I want them to seem like failures. Guess what?
Mind if I ask you?
That is the best example of the propaganda that's been put out there, because that narrative of the story has been out there as if, the person that they're saying is powerless, that he's deranged, he's out here, he could coordinate and put his thumb on the lever and stop them from doing this bill. But there was something they leave out of that. What else was in that bill? I want y'all to do the research. The real reason that bill wasn't passed.
They're not failures. And in fact, when Donald Trump
how did they inherit the border crisis, if you don't mind me asking?
Refused to put out that vaccine for the coronavirus and killed some 658,000 people.
Vaccinations in the United States began on December 14, 2020. He's just killing them with facts. He didn't even have to respond in real time. I'll fix it later.
My friends that I went to college with also included, when that happened, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came in office and put that vaccine out. So let's stop playing. This is not a game. And guess what? This is about lives.
Do you mind if I touch on the border crisis, though?
You tried, and I got
no. But how did they inherit
My
it?
wife talked
About the border crisis.
Yeah, how did they inherit it?
They inherited because
The border crisis.
How long have people been coming across the border?
But under Trump's administration,
long
they were
have
seeing
people
a
been
50-year low of border crossings. It then
Well,
jumped to
let's
8
just-
times
let's-
as much.
let's just be
So
clear. Let's just
that's
be
a lie?
clear. Yeah.
why is that a lie?
Well,
That
let
is
me
a
finish.
flat-out lie. I'm
Let me
sorry.
finish. Let's just
That's
be
it's
clear.
actually not a lie. That's a fact.
That's a lie.
Let's just be clear.
Your facts are lies.
During Trump,
Your facts are lies. That's so disrespectful. It's so wrong. Especially when he's right. Especially when he's right. Like, this is, you know how they say facts over feelings? This is feelings over facts, obviously. And just because you're passionate about something does not make you right. Just because you can get loud about something, that doesn't make you right. You're just making a fool of yourself.
during the Trump
No,
administration-
You know
Okay,
where I
you're
got
not
that
gonna
fact
let
from?
me talk? That's the reason.
The only one who got some sense here, it seemed like, is this, maybe his daughter here. She's trying to calm him down, obviously. I mean, this is embarrassing.
Reason why people don't really
I
want to
do.
vote for Harris because men disrespect women.
Well, ma'am, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm,
so
I'm,
when I-
I'm just trying to get one.
Of course. That old canard. Now it's a misogyny thing. Now it's men disrespect women. So, okay, she's going to use this argument, man.
I'm just trying to get one point out. That's what.
He
That's
walked
it.
away.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I'll
So
just say
please get
this.
your please.
During the Biden and Harris administration,
Yeah.
they have those people who crossed the border and got separated from their children. They made sure that they got placed to where they're supposed to be placed with their parents. Some of them were not placed because they were separated or they couldn't find their parents. But Trump didn't do that. He's the one who caused the
This dude's in the background screaming Kamala Harris. That's crazy.
problem. Harris is the one invited.
The separation was not Donald Trump's policy.
It happened during his administration.
It was already in place. He actually ended that by executive order.
No, he didn't end it.
The family separation.
If there's a if
Now he's just going to interrupt the interview in the background, I guess.
if he ended, then why are you now saying that there's a problem now? He didn't end border crisis. If that's the case, you wouldn't be saying there's a problem now.
You were just talking about family separation, and now we're talking about the border
During
crisis.
the border crisis, yes.
Okay.
Don't you remember all those families that were
Right. So
separated?
the numbers that we're seeing right now are we've never seen numbers like this in the history of the United States.
Well, you know, people are coming across. No president have ended it. Not Trump, not Biden, not Obama, not Bush. So it's not just their problem, it's our problem.
Right.
Okay? So when are we going to do something about it?
Well,
you
I-
keep
the
blaming
reason-
on presidents and stuff when they have to be.
Well, they undid policy that was working.
You know,
that we found
not
about a
necessarily.
45, 50-year
Not
low on
necessarily.
illegal crossings at the southern border.
Not necessarily.
According to Customs and Border
you have
Protection.
to understand, during that time is during the pandemic.
Yeah. Before that was even low.
Oh yeah, during Obama's administration, yes, I'll agree with
Oh
that.
yeah, no, Obama
Yeah,
did great
yeah.
too, but Trump
Right.
did. But Trump
Right.
continued that, and they implemented effective policy that got it really under control. One would be
Well,
the
that's-
Remain in Mexico agreement.
What
It was
happened
working.
to with those families that came across and they were separated? That was not
Wait,
during.
we're talking about two different.
You can tell how she's smiling. She thinks she's scoring points, but she's really not making sense.
Different things right now, though. We're talking about the number of crossings versus family separation.
They came across. That's how they got separated.
Yeah.
Those families came across, and he
What?
separated those families.
That was the Trump administration.
that was
that did
Trump.
But that wasn't a Trump policy. He actually do you mind if I finish? Yeah, of course it does, because he ended family separation by executive order in 2018. So the policy was when you get arrested, your child doesn't go to jail with you, because if you got arrested, would your child go to jail with you?
No, but
No.
that's
It was the same thing at the
what
border.
is.
It was the same thing at the border.
It didn't occur when he separated them during that time.
What do you mean by?
Oh, man. Just your opinion. I don't understand why people are so turned up about this. Just loud and wrong. And they're allowed to be. Because there's some outlet, media outlet that's feeding them this information, and it lines up with how they feel, even though it's not right. I'm telling you, it's not right. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, man, because you see this. This is so many people out here, just sheep being led to slaughter. It's ridiculous.
By that?
when the families were coming across, they were separated. They were treated inhumanely, and that was during Trump's administration.
Damn. Let's do the damn. We on the side making interjections, crazy interjections. Oh, man. All right. Now, I don't want to go too hard on the brother. It seems like something is definitely going on with him. So, prayers and thoughts. But come on, man. Come on.
Inhumanely. Right now, the Biden and Harris administration has about 300,000 children that came here illegally that are unaccounted for. Does that seem humane?
That's not
Is that a
right.
good thing?
Only if you counted them.
Right,
I want to see your figures. Did you
I
write it down?
I want
Let me
to
see them.
see.
Let me see your
Those
figures.
numbers
I'm
are-
sorry.
You ain't gave one figure, but you want him to pull out some figures from his pocket right now. Let me see your figures. That's ridiculous, man. This is a cult of personality at this point. You can't tell me there's a logical reason somebody's acting like this in a civil discussion.
I want to see.
Those numbers are from the federal government.
I want to see the videos and the videos that we filmed. Because during
Hey, you can look it up if you like.
during Trump, we saw it.
What was that, ma'am?
We saw that they were being treated humanely. Where are the people that going over there photographing that or going over there filming that? We don't see that. Anybody
You
can
would
say
describe what's
anything.
happening
It's
right
like
now
the
as
vote.
humane?
Anybody who's treated unfairly is inhumane. You know what?
Most deaths at the southern border
Slavery
right now?
was definitely inhumane, and everybody.
Come on now. Now, you're not going to insert my ancestors into this for your weak political point. That's not what we're going to do. Nah, I don't accept that. I don't accept that at all. You can't just throw around, oh, well, slavery. What's that got to do with this? And it's disrespectful. It's shameful at this point that you're losing an argument. The fact is, you don't have anything to hang on to with this person that you're holding up as the next hope, great hope. Why? Identity. And that is it. Identity is the only thing you have to hold on to here.
Everybody got paid for, what is it called? They got paid for
Reparations?
Reparations, except for black people. They don't want to even acknowledge it.
Now you're throwing around reparations. Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. You don't know what you're talking about.
Now, and
Do you
now,
think Kamala Harris
Trump
will Kamala Harris give reparations if she wins? Do you think?
I don't know.
Is that important to you or no?
Right now, it's not the first thing on the table. You know what the first thing on the table
Get
is?
rid of Trump.
It's not only that, but it's just
He's not in office right now.
Well, just making sure
I said
that.
get rid of him. Take him to jail like everybody else who's a convicted felon.
Sir, the worst border crisis in American history, you guys. So how do we justify this? The worst border crisis in American history under Biden and Harris?
This is also an inherited thing, and people are coming across the border.
They inherited
How do you stop it? How do
a
you stop it?
50-year
How
low
do you stop
border
it? How do you
crossings.
suggest that it stops?
Reinstating Trump-era policies, remain in Mexico, getting rid of catch and release.
Reinstating Trump?
Huh?
Does that mean reinstating Trump?
Nope. In 2023, they introduced HR 2 that would have included those
She
policies.
will come up with something. It really has nothing to do with Biden Harris. It has something to do with what she's going to do, and I believe she's going to
Well,
stop.
they were the one that undid the policies that were working.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am.
So what policies have they put in that's going to work, or that is working?
They could they could
What
get rid of
policies
catch and
did they-
release.
Because they didn't just take it out.
Well, I'll tell you
It has
exactly.
to be replaced with something.
Do you want me to tell you what they did? So on week one,
My
they-
family, I gotta do
oh,
that.
really quick, on week one, they reinstated catch and release. They pulled out of the Remain in Mexico agreement. They halted construction of the border wall. And all of that said, okay, great. If you come to the country, you can seek asylum in the country. That's why we ended up with 3 million people entering the country per year.
Well, you know what? A lot of white people are benefiting from it.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, because they can
It's-
hire
it's a
them
corporate
for,
position.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's okay. Okay.
But we're not.
But shouldn't we be raising wages for the American people and not importing cheap foreign labor?
Under the Biden-Harris, wages have been raised. Under the Biden and Harris administration, wages have been raised.
Real wages are down under this administration.
But it happens
Exactly.
all statewide. Their wages are down. And you know who pays?
Do you mind if I
People
ask?
like you and me.
Yes.
We pay for it. So
Do you mind if I ask-
the government doesn't have anything to do with raising the wages. They pass it on to us, just like PG&E,
Right.
energy people. Whenever there's a disaster or problem, we have to pay, which is the reason why we need to be taken care of, which is what Harris is going to do. Take care of the middle class people.
You're making
so
a
that
great
we
argument
can
to not import
take
cheap
care of
labor.
The world.
Did you hear what I said? You're making a wonderful argument to not import millions of people for cheap labor.
He's jabbing her.
Well, you know what?
You see what I'm saying?
They're not just coming from Mexico.
I didn't say that
I
they're.
know. What I'm saying is there are a lot of people coming all over. I'm not saying import them, but I'm saying, yes, they come over, but people are coming over from all over the world.
That's right.
And yet, they're utilizing them. I'm not saying that it's wrong or that it's bad, but, I think it should be done
I think
properly.
importing cheap labor, doesn't that just seem like it's hurting the American
paying
people?
us right either.
That's right. Ma'am, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you, okay? Bye-bye.
Boy, I can't wait for this to be over, man. These conversations are mind-numbing. And you got somebody who thinks they're schooling you that doesn't know anything of what they're talking about. Shout out to James Klug, I guess. He had this on his channel, just doing a street interview in Las Vegas. It's ridiculous, man. This stuff is crazy. It's like arguing with a child. It's literally like, no, I want it. It's not good for you. I'm trying to tell you it's not good for you. But hey, you're going to find out one way or another. A hard head makes a soft behind, as they say. And I mean, this dude was totally unhinged. I don't know what was his problem. This guy. But I've had that exact conversation, and I don't know why it always gets emotional. It gets emotional probably because there is no logic behind it. There's no other recourse, so it has to go to emotionality. When you are confident in your facts, you can lay back in the logic and enjoy yourself and have a debate, have a spirited conversation. But when it gets turned up to level, you know you're losing.